Yesterday we were trying to go through the Aristotelian theory of poetics, which he describes in the book of Poetics. And we saw the book of Poetics, part 1 is mostly about epic poetry, drama, especially tragedy. And we saw what tragedy actually means. And also we are trying to understand the Aristotelian definition of art, that is the mimetic definition of art, that art is imitation, and how he significantly differs from the definition of Aristotle. Okay, and especially the media of imitation. He explains the object of imitation, where you understand imitation better than the real, imitation same as the real, and imitation worse than the real. Imitation of a higher type, imitation of equal type, and imitation of a lower type. This is what we saw about the object of imitation. And also we saw the manner of imitation. There are different manner in which it can be imitated. Anything can be imitated. And we saw certain images and all. We will be looking at the causes of imitation, cause of art. Okay, why is art? In the book of Poetics, he specifies why or the cause. He specifies the causes of poetry or causes of art, the causes of art of poetry. So he says it is instinct. That is his answer. Instinct is the cause for poetry to happen. So it's a human instinct. And he specifically says there are two kinds of instincts. There are two kinds of instincts. The first one is the instinct of imitation. That is very natural to everyone. To imitate somebody or to imitate something, it is very natural. Like we said last day, as children we are all imitative creatures. We learn our first lessons by imitating only, by imitating others, by imitating nature. We learn the first lessons of our life: how to walk, how to talk, how to wear cloth, everything we learn by imitation. And he says one difference between man and other creatures, one difference between human beings and other creatures is that human beings are the most imitative of all creatures. That means he doesn't say that animals are not imitating. Even animals would imitate. But among all creatures, human beings are the most imitative. When we say about imitation, it is something that gives pleasure to man. When we imitate and when the imitation is proper, we are happy about that. People around us enjoy that we are imitating. Like if you see a child, if a child at home, as a small baby, if it wears the shirt of its dad and imitating its father, we all will come around and we all will applaud and we will encourage the child to do it again, and we may videograph it. We will put it on Instagram and or share it in our WhatsApp family groups. Imitation is something very much we are all happy about. When we see some people of our some beloved people of ours, when we see some people who are beloved to us imitate something, we are so happy about it. In case of art, there are things which would be otherwise or physically, if we go near it, it will be disgusting. But when it comes to a painting, wow, we are so happy about that. If you remember, last year there was an exhibition in our department gallery by Aditya Puttur, and he used to paint the Indian the cut torso of man. He takes references from operation theatres and all, and he paints the internal organs of the body cut into pieces and all. You must be remembering. To physically view such a thing is very terrible, very horrible. We can't bear to see that. But when it comes to a painting, we all go to the gallery. Wow, what a nice painting. Okay, that is our expression. So we are happy about things being imitated. The pleasure of imitation is something universal. About human beings, the pleasure of imitation is very universal. So objects which we view with pain, when that is transferred into a painting or a work of art, there is a delight in seeing it, there is a delight in contemplating it. So we will be very happy about the minute details which is given in the painting. Okay, even if it is a very disgusting subject, when it is coming to painting, so naturally, so detailed painting, We will be happy about the details. Wow, even such a minute thing has not been left by the artist. So that is something very interesting to understand. So even if the something very much ignoble, a corpse of a dead animal, it must be stinking. We will not be going near that anyway. But when it comes to a painting, we are happy about that. There is a amount of pleasure in imitating. That's what I wanted to say. And suppose when you are painting, we are coming in your classes, you will be doing live study. So you are doing portrait study and a model is sitting there, and when you are attempting to paint or sculpt that image of the man who is sitting in front of you, when that likeness is there, wow, we will be happy about that, and everyone will come and appreciate. It has come in the likeness of the person who sat as a model. And even if we don't know the model who it is, we will be happy about the details. Means like the execution, the coloring, or the features. We will be more interested into that kind of things, even if we don't know who the object is, who the model is. When the model is there, wow, that is he, looking very much exactly like him. Okay, when you go in a train and when you are sketching, some people will come and ask you. They would come and ask you, please draw my image. And when you draw it, people will come around and they will be saying, wow, it's nice, it's like him, exactly like him, ditto copy, aisa bolte hai. Yeah. So there is a delight or pleasure in imitating, and it is an instinct of imitation that is a cause of art. That is number one. And number two, so the second cause of poetry is the instinct of harmony. The instinct of harmony and rhythm. Okay, there is something like that. There is the instinct of harmony and rhythm. To understand instinct of imitation, it is very easy. But there is an instinct for harmony and rhythm for every human being. That's something very special to human beings. And when you say rhythm, rhythm is manifestly the sections of meter. Okay, poetry is written mostly in meter. There is a metric about that. So the meters are manifestly sections of rhythm. Different sections of rhythm together make a meter. When the rhythm is different, the meter also will change. So when you learn literature, you will be learning that there is meter for poetry. That's why you are able to sing or recite a poetry in a particular tune. So there is an instinct for harmony and rhythm for human beings. The meters are manifestly sections of rhythm. So some people have that natural gift of rhythm, and some people, maybe all the people have that natural gift of rhythm. That's why even if you don't sing, you will be able to enjoy music. You will be able to enjoy rhythm. And some people, by their effort, develop the degree of their aptitude for rhythm. Some people have a special aptitude for music, rhythm, harmony. So they go and learn it, and by their personal effort, they will be developing their instinct, which was actually an instinct that developed by learning. Okay, and they will be masters of such things. There is an instinct for rhythm. One of the examples could be when you do a work, a manual labor. Means in every place it can be there. Like certain folk songs, when they are doing something, it will be accompanied by a song. That song will coordinate the effort of the people who are working there. They will be able to work together. They will be able to work faster. So there is something called rhythm that is in every situation. In any movement, when there is a work that is happening, means effort of so many people, when it has to be put together, we used to sing. It comes very naturally. Suppose now we are all sitting at home, but we just imagine that we are all in the college. Okay, it's such a happy thing to come back after so long. And suppose we are all back in the college, and means we in the department, we have got a very big huge shelf, and our HOD come and ask us to take it to the first year's classroom. Okay, in any department, suppose it is a painting department, The HOD comes and says, okay, in a lorry they brought a few pieces of furniture. There are shelves, tables and such things, and one of them is very huge, really large. So it's very heavy also, and the students are asked to take it to the upstairs. So we all come together and join in order to shift the shelf to the first floor. So when you do that work, how will you do that? You just imagine. Can you hear me actually? Can you? Okay. So you just imagine, how are you going to do that? All of us are coming together, we are holding it, we are trying to pull it, push it, we are trying to lift it and move forward. And we have to climb the stairs in that. So how will you do it? If it is really very heavy and you don't have any other instrument in order to do that, manually you have to do that. In that case, how will you do that? Or suppose we are going on a study tour and the bus is breakdown and the driver asks you, नहीं चलते, करना क्या है अभी थोड़ा थक्का मारो और क्या करो, कैसे करो? How would you do that? You simply go and just push it like this. You may count 1, 2, 3, and gradually it means if that effort takes if that effort goes for a longer period of time, there will be some songs coming. Dam laga ke, hai sha. Have you heard this? Jor laga ke, hai sha. Have you heard this? Okay, I exactly don't know how to say that in Hindi or Gujarati. Can somebody say that? Because I don't know how to say that. I don't know what it is. During our study tour, it actually happened. That's why I remember that. When we were in Tamil Nadu, it happened once. And everyone went behind and they were pushing. I think that this batch was there. The artistic students must have been there when we did that. So, it's very natural. It is an instinct of every human being to have rhythm and harmony. You understand? So, rhythm and harmony is an instinct which is a cause of poetry. You understand? So, this is what I wanted to say. There are two causes of poetry, two instincts which are causes of poetry. One is instinct for imitation, and the second one is instinct for rhythm and harmony. I will tell you an example of Kerala. Sometimes you must have seen certain images of Vallam Kali, boat race. You must have seen such photos or such videos. There is boat race songs, boat songs. In Malayalam, there is a genre of poetry which is known as boat songs. And it has a history, how that it has a history of its own. Like, I hope you all know about boat race. Pata hai na, boat race. In Kerala, that is a even every year in connection with Onam, in a particular season, they will be celebrating boat race. Actually, it has the history of rivalry between local kingdoms in trade and commerce, and also sometimes the war that was happening between these local kingdoms. So they wanted boats that would transport the military or their equipments or their products faster. So faster movement would give them an upper hand in trade, commerce, war and everything. So they made boats which are very long, and it was called snake boats. And now it is celebrated. It is a commemoration of the past. And there are certain songs when they used to sing during the when they used to row the boat. So the oarsman, a snake boat can contain, it can carry some nearly 100 boatmen. 100 oarsmen can be there, and it transports a lot of things. So when they are in the water, they used to row faster by singing. So there will be a rhythm of the song, and they will be singing together and moving forward. Okay, so there is a genre of poetry which is known as boat song, or in Malayalam it is said Vallam Kali Paattu. So we have a guest with us today. She is one of my friends, Shanti Biju. Maybe you are seeing her on the screen, or she will be singing. If you have pinned me there, you just unpin me, then she will be coming onto the screen. So I thought I would be singing, but my singing will be horrible. I am very tough and my voice is very rough, and it will be not very good if I sing. I don't want to torture you with my song again. So she will be singing for us. Shanti will be opening her mic, unmuting her mic, and she will be singing. And she may say, if you like, she would say something to you. So do you see Shanti?
Yes. Father. Good afternoon.
Okay, so welcome, dear Shanti, and this is the Master of Visual Arts students. So you may just sing and speak to them, especially the Vallangali Patta, boat race song.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. Welcome on behalf of everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Hope you all are doing well. This is Vanchipata in Malayalam. Vanchipata.
കുട്ടനാടൻ പുഞ്ചയിലെ തിത്തേതകതേതേതോ കൊച്ചു പെണ്ണെ കുയിലാളെ തിത്തത്താതിത്തേതോ കൊട്ടു വേണം കുഴൽ വേണം കുരവ വേണം ഓ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ വരവേൽക്കാനാളു വേണം കോടി തോരണങ്ങൾ വേണം വിജയ ശ്രീലാളിതരായി വരുന്നു ഞങ്ങൾ ഓ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ തിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ തിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ തിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ കറുത്ത ചിറകു വച്ച് തൈതൈതകതൈതോ അരയെന്ന കിളി പോലെ തിത്തത്താതിത്തൈതേ കുതിച്ചു കുതിച്ചു പായും കുതിര പോലെ കറുത്ത ചിറകു വച്ചു അരയെന്ന കിളി പോലെ കുതിച്ചു കുതിച്ചു പായും കുതിര പോലെ ഓ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ തോൽവി എന്തെന്നറിയാത്ത തല താഴ്ത്താൻ അറിയാത്ത കാവാലം ചുണ്ടനിതാ ജയിച്ചു വന്നു ഓ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ കുട്ടനാടൻ പുഞ്ചയിലെ കൊച്ചു പെണ്ണെ കുയിലാളെ കൊട്ടു വേണം കുഴൽ വേണം കുരവ വേണം ഓ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ പമ്പയിലെ പൊന്നോളങ്ങൾ ഓടി വന്നു പുണരുന്നു തങ്കവയിൽ നെറ്റിയിന്മേൽ പൊട്ടുകുത്തുന്നു ഓ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ കുട്ടനാടൻ പുഞ്ചയിലെ കൊച്ചു പെണ്ണെ കുയിലാളെ കൊട്ടു വേണം കുഴൽ വേണം കുരവ വേണം ഓ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ കുട്ടനാടൻ പുഞ്ചയിലെ കൊച്ചു പെണ്ണെ കുയിലാളെ കൊട്ടു വേണം കുഴൽ വേണം കുരവ വേണം ഓ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ ദിത്തിത്താരാ ദിത്തിത്താരാദിത്തിത്തേ തിത്തേ തകതേതേതോ.
Thank you very much, Shanti. Thank you for joining us.
So much.
Okay, so did you listen to the song? Did you hear it? Okay, actually she is in the office and she is singing from the office for us.
So much.
And if you listen to the rhythm of the song, according to the rhythm, the people will be, the oarsmen will be rowing the boat. And when the tempo increases, the pace of the boat also will naturally increase. So 100 oarsmen are there in the boat, and when they move according to the song, they will be it will be orchestrated or it will be synchronized. Their rowing will be in a synchronized manner. Okay, so that rhythm is very important for you. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us from your office time. Thank you for your valuable time you spared for us. Thank you very much. Okay, on behalf of all, and everybody is saying thank you for you. On the chat box, I am saying thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Nice song. I am seeing it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Father. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Can I leave?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. So this is about the instinct of rhythm that we are saying. Means it's very natural for human beings to have a rhythm in our walking, when we speak, when we do anything. There is a rhythm. There is a harmony. This is an instinct which is being developed into poetry or art. Okay, that is what Aristotle is saying about instinct of rhythm and harmony. And this song, the particular song that she sung, that is from a film, 1967 film, which is known as Kavalam Chundan. Kavalam Chundan. Chundan is the Chundan Vallam, snake boat, and that is a story. That's a film around the Kavalam Chundan and the story of this boat race and all. A 1967 film. Actually, that's a genre of poetry. There are so many other poems also in the same genre, which is sung in the same manner. That's about the causes of poetry.